My name's Dave DeBow, founder of MoneyPartnerFormula.com, and this show is built for everyday real estate investors who are actively doing deals and looking to scale using other people's money. So if you're an active real estate investor and you want to get featured on this show to talk about your own real estate and capital raising experiences, then just go to daveinterviewyou.com. Now let's get rolling with this episode, and remember to subscribe for daily interview content.
All right, guys, welcome to Property Profits Podcast. I'm your host, Bryce Kaminsky, filling in for Dave Dubow. And have you ever wondered how a seasoned real estate investor seamlessly transitions from flips to the sewer business? Meet Tina Shiels, the mind behind the journey. Today, she joins us to share her insights from southwestern Ontario to Cleveland, Ohio, and the surprising shift to mindset and well-being. Tina, welcome to the show. Excited to delve into your journey. How are you today?
I'm awesome. Perfect. Thanks. That was a great intro. Yeah. I'm
Yeah. Yeah, well, it's built on your background here. So you created the intro by doing all this stuff. So let's dive into the first thing. People are going to be like, sewer business. How did that happen? I'm guessing it has something to do with working outside of the major areas in Ontario.
Yeah. So you know what is I love real estate, and through our journey as we kind of went more full time in this space, like got my license. I'm a realtor, and my husband's always worked in construction, building, and so we were piecing it all together, and we've had so much success so far with a number of our projects. But we were kind of looking at a new, like a complementary business to kind of was fit into our world, but that was just something else that was really kind of consistent and for us. So through the journey, we actually, through a mastermind, real estate based mastermind, connected with a really great human being named Brady McDonald, who's down in the US now, but he's originally from not far from where I live. He's just was originally from like Barrie, where I think he grew up in. But so we've been talking real estate, doing lots of things, and we had an opportunity for a business that he had started as part of his real estate business, and he kind of paired off a sewer, water, septic business. So I mean, it makes sense when you're doing new construction and development, you need to bring in the services to the lot, or when you're take over older properties, or you're helping other people with their renovations, they may have issues, obviously, with repairing or replacing water lines, upgrading them if there's more units. And rural properties with their septic beds. So through kind of this amazing network and journey in real estate, we had, I call it a unicorn opportunity, to be able to buy into and partner on this business. So we jumped both feet in the summer, and I feel like, as many people in real estate, we're all, I think, very entrepreneurial, and we like to pivot. I think it feeds our souls. So I passed my building exam. I'm a licensed septic sewage system installer as well, and and we're doing that as well. And it's kind of neat because we're still working with a lot of the people we worked with in real estate, doing flips or buy and holds, and but now we can add kind of another element to the service that, and I think my husband was really happy to get out of just general contractor work. Like, it was not filling his. So yeah, he's happier outside doing landscaping and this stuff as well. So.
Yeah, general contracting is tough because no matter what happens, it's your fault.
It
So
is.
it's the scapegoat position in the whole thing, right?
I like the demo, that's fun, and I like the end, but everything in the middle just takes so long, and I don't.
And it starts dragging towards the end, and you can't finish, and
Yeah,
people are
exactly.
late, and the finishing guy doesn't show up.
It is, yeah, yeah. And when you're a perfectionist, it's brutal, right? So you have to learn about what's good enough, I think, in this journey as well.
Yeah, definitely. It's not really your house. There's always going to be a taste difference, and you
Yeah,
just want to make sure that it's up to your standards, and you know,
yeah,
done is more important, because good is subjective, but done is you can
yeah.
measure that. Is it done? Yes. Is it good? Well, the
Good
jury's
enough.
out on that. I don't know about that paint color, that tile we picked.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
good. It's good in my opinion. What do you think? Oh, it's terrible, right? It's subjective.
Yeah.
So, with all the success you've had in real estate so far, what would you say your biggest obstacle is these days?
So that's a good question. Obviously, I think a lot of people are kind of in a period of reflection and pivot because the market has shifted significantly. And that's not a bad thing, right? I mean, but if you're in this world long enough, you're going to find this cycle where you have to kind of figure out what's next. So what
Mm-hmm.
got us, what we've been doing for the last 5 years in what was a very upward trending market, a strong appreciation, a very forgiving market.
Yeah.
What
Everyone's a
got us to
genius
where
in
we
an
are,
up market, right?
right? So that's kind of got a lot of us to a really great place, and we had some good successes. I think potentially, I know for us, if you were in the middle of a big project when all these shifts happen, I think a number of us found ourselves going to plan B's and C's and figuring out
Mm-hmm.
creative solutions, because obviously, a number of factors changed that may have changed kind of what we thought were going to be the original outcomes.
Yeah.
Uh, but that's good. I mean, there's growth that comes from that. I've also learned you can't focus on what you can't control, because that's just going to eat you up. So it's just figuring out what you can control. And
Mm-hmm.
for me, it was reaching out to more people than I ever have reached out to, because there's a lot of people that have been doing this a lot longer than I have, that have lived through some really challenging times. And so out of
Mm-hmm.
that, really good creative solutions for us. And also, I think some just being a little bit easier on yourself, right? To navigate it and not take on the stress. So now it's like, what's going to get us to our next goal in the next 5 years? So in this journey, the best part of real estate for me has been a amount of growth and focus and change and mindset that's happened. And it's kind of
Mm-hmm.
interesting that it took real estate for me to go on this kind of self reflection and sort of growth journey. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
I'm really grateful for that. And so a big part of some of my challenges in the past have been that we're used to doing everything ourselves, funding
Right.
our projects, doing the work, managing like all the issues, like coming up with solutions on our own. And so it was a shift for me to start to get into partnerships. So we did some joint ventures. We had some partnerships where we partnered on some flips,
Mm-hmm.
some private lending. And then the next shift was the whole idea of raising capital, and realizing that, and that's something I'm still working on, but it's great, is when you have good opportunities, then it's actually amazing to be able to bring those opportunities to other people. And we were just talking about this earlier before we were recording, but I loved how you talked about it. When other people win, then I win. And
Mm-hmm.
on so many levels, because one of the things I love about real estate is just creating beautiful places for people to call home, for helping people find investment properties, for helping people grow their wealth, whatever that may look like. Um,
Mm-hmm.
being a service and making a difference, and having a positive contribution in people's lives. And so now that that's for my focus now is to really realize that this is a great vehicle that I can use to actually do good.
Mm-hmm.
And to order to do more of that, so the idea of sort of scaling, and for us thinking bigger than we have in the past,
Mm-hmm.
and that we need to learn how to outsource more, which is cool, which is one of the reasons why I actually like focusing in the US, because I have to.
Yeah.
And that we can bring more people in. And so the idea of being able to find and offer opportunities to lots of great people in our networks, and to realize that it's a win for them as well, and first and foremost a win for them. And so that for me was a big part of overcoming those limiting beliefs about raising capital and being worthy and all those other things that sometimes we get caught up in, those silly cyclical thoughts.
Imposter syndrome. Yeah.
Yes, very much, right? And I think we had to put the time in, and we spent a lot of time. There's a lot of sweat equity in what we've been doing the last number of years. Um,
Mm-hmm.
maybe that made me feel like I had more street credibility, street cred, or whatever you want to call it.
Mm-hmm.
But at some point, yeah, you have to realize that you are like we can find and offer really great opportunities in this, in multiple markets. And like we were talking earlier, we've had great success in certain areas in Ontario. The last sort of area we were focusing in with several multifamily or small multifamily projects was in sort of London and the greater London area.
Yeah.
But obviously the market's different than it was. And even our last project, I would say, didn't turn out exactly how we had wanted it, but
Mm-hmm.
pivoting. And we're actually looking to bring in a partner on that project so that we can hang on to it. I'd like to hang
Mm-hmm.
on, and turn it into kind of a good option for both of us. But yeah, so now the exciting thing is just shifting our focus and looking at the United States. So that's been
Mm-hmm.
a year and a half, to be honest. We started that journey, a little bit of shiny object syndrome.
Yeah.
kind of pick the
Definitely.
market and figure it out. But I feel like at this point we're kind of happy with the markets that we sort of zeroed in on and the team we're building. And so I'm excited. I think 2024 is going to be an amazing year, and I think there's going to be incredible opportunities too, that are
Yeah.
going to
I
be built.
remember this one guy I was interviewing. I can't remember his name. I think it was, could have been James Gleason. I think he said, when investigating markets and investigating what to do or real estate in general, if you're just getting started, set a time limit so that you don't end up in analysis paralysis and chasing everything and doing everything. So just set a deadline, say, I'm going to learn up until, let's say, March. And then at the end of March, I'm going to do something or I'm going to be done with looking at this thing. Because we can spend so much time, people can go to
Yeah,
seminars and just waste years and buy nothing. So
yeah,
give yourself a limit, if you're going to be investigating new markets, give yourself a limit. If you're going to be investigating new strategies like multifamily against single family, give yourself a time limit. If you're going to even just getting into real estate, don't spend 2 years figuring out if it's for you or not. The only way you're going to find out is to do real estate and then find out if it's for you or not. So when it comes to real estate investing, what do you think your secret sauce is? What comes easy to you that other people might find difficult to do?
it's funny because you never really know your own secret sauce because you think that that's everybody's secret sauce. It's like
Mm-hmm.
trying to figure out your superpowers. I think I can see opportunities. So a lot of times I think a lot of people, and sometimes I don't think that's a secret sauce because I work with a lot of like-minded real like people, investors, and so we will
Mm-hmm.
see the year like. But I realize generally speaking that sometimes that's not as obvious. So
Yeah.
I'm always looking and thinking about opportunities, and what might not be exactly at this moment what people are focused on. And so that's one piece that I think we've been able to kind of find some properties, that a lot of people were passing up on, and they ended up being really excellent projects for us and properties for us that we've held on to. And I think I'm managing projects. So I love to manage, like, one of the biggest things that's been our strength has been, rehabs and renovations,
Mm-hmm.
and through significant projects, getting good teams in place, and managing those teams because that's always challenging. So for a while we were
Yeah.
doing it ourselves, and then we started to really build a good sort of network of people that we know, like, and trust, so that we can get through these projects really effectively and know that the work is done, that we want to get it done, and I don't necessarily have to be there like overseeing everything.
Mm-hmm.
So that's been something that's served us really well. And I'm hoping to kind of transplant those skills again in terms of, like we were discussing before, but there's some great opportunities in some of the markets we're looking at now for, properties that need varying degrees of love.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I can't wait to get my hands on some of those, and create those. And I think learning to, like, I had a tendency to over renovate. And a lot of that's just because you just want to create these beautiful spaces, but it's that balance of, I think you can over renovate a little bit. I don't think that's problematic necessarily. I've always been really successful with getting excellent, tenants. And part of that is
Mm-hmm.
just we treat our properties and renovate our properties.
Mm-hmm.
There's a fine line there.
Yeah. You can go too far where the cash flow kind of
Yeah.
walks off with you, or you're stuck in the deal more than you want to be stuck in the deal.
Understanding who your tenant base is going to be, right? Which is going to change significantly when I look at some different markets, and understanding that maybe my strategy that I use in a different market, I'm not going to use it in that market, right? So,
Yeah, I mean, there's properties where we fully renovated them for a refi and
yeah,
got a great refi, but the rent was marginally different than the one we just painted.
right.
Maybe we got 1,500 or 1,600 over here, and the one that we just painted and like put a new countertop on gets 1,400. So when you look at the investment, you got to start to say, okay, well, what really does raise the rent? And it's not usually fancy finishes. It's usually proximity to schools,
Yeah,
proximity to transit,
yeah,
and the number of bedrooms, and maybe bonus space like the basement. And the garage doesn't even matter, but
yeah,
sometimes, depending on where it is, it's important. That's the only asset they own is the car, so they want to protect it and lock it.
yeah,
And yeah, it's really not flipping for renters. It's renting for rent. It's fixing for renters. So
yeah.
um, let's talk about capital a little bit. What, with the things that you're moving towards and
Hmm.
the things that you've done. What's one strategy that you're working on right now to access, more money to fund these new projects like the multifamily or the United States plans that you have?
So I always say that I'm still kind of in my infancy in this compared to some of my amazing colleagues. And one of the things that was really kind of funny when you kind of take a step back and you look at yourself, that I was imagining that people would say no.
Hmm.
So then I just didn't bother asking.
Yeah.
Then a friend of mine, a really good friend of mine, and she does coaching as well. She's like, if you're gonna make it up, like make it up good.
Yeah.
And so
Like if
then
you're
you're
gonna
like,
dream, don't
just
like
ask.
mitigate your dreams. Yeah.
And then suddenly I asked, and lo and behold, people actually were like, yeah, I'd invest with you. I'd invest with that. But part of that is because I think real estate to me and effective relationships and with partners and money partners, it's relationship based. Like you want to
Mm.
know, like, and trust that person.
Yeah.
And so over the last number of years, from a very genuine, authentic place, I have, been building really great relationships. And so it's kind of neat now to be able to, and maybe gently sowing seeds that you didn't even realize you were sowing as you're just sharing your journey, which is, I think,
Hmm.
something I recommend to anybody as you get started is don't be afraid to just be seen and share your journey and be vulnerable and don't feel like
Hmm.
it has to be all perfect and beautiful because honestly, that's probably not the most trustworthy way of presenting everything because there are challenges that happen and some projects don't end up with the returns that you anticipated, right? And sometimes they're,
Hmm.
sometimes they're not. And so I think just being really truthful, genuine, always throughout the projects, and when we've worked with people, and then just learning how to share more, and then ultimately realizing that you can start to, put it out to the universe that you have projects and you're looking for capital.
Hmm. Hmm.
And so that's kind of been and using social media effectively. Like I would say I'm kind of the culprit of I'm really good. Like it's really easy when you're doing a project to be doing tons of posts because there's so much, it's so fun, right? Like, and I love who doesn't love before and afters, but it's the
Hmm.
time in between that sometimes
Yeah.
we all silent. And then, you have to like restart it again. And so just I think being consistent with just keeping connected with people and like realizing that you know more than you probably think especially compared to a lot of folks that are just entering into the world of
Hmm. Hmm.
investing in real estate. So, we were talking about imposter syndrome, but that's okay. Like you just don't, you don't have to try to be something you're not, but be okay to be who you are and share what you know, and be okay to not necessarily know everything. But I think if I could go back to myself even a few years ago, I would have just been way more comfortable and okay sharing more and not so worried about what other people think.
Yeah, there's the four stages, right? There's unconscious incompetence. I don't know what I don't know. Then you
Yes.
move into the um
Uh,
conscious, I think it's conscious incompetence. You know that you don't know. And then
yes.
you move into the third stage, which is
Conscious.
conscious competence. You got to actually work at it, stay focused. Then finally, you move into the unconscious competence where it's like second nature. You're moving and doing flips without even thinking about it. You're making decisions that would take someone diligence, but you're just like, yeah, just like we did last time or something like that. So,
And I think
um,
like is learn like I love numbers and I love spreadsheets. And so the other, when we were talking about special sauce, like I from underwriting and just due diligence, like I feel like that is definitely something that I love to do. And it's a
mhm,
strength. I can pretty quickly look at opportunities and say like, yes, I want to do further due diligence on this, or like, no, this one just does not make sense on the most fundamental levels.
mhm,
Going to try to like make it work, right? And so, I think as the more we do this, we build that competence, and that kind of is something that uh, I really appreciate now because it makes it a lot easier to quickly identify and sort of move forward with opportunities, or to like know when it's time to maybe walk away when you're like, you know what, this is just not
mhm.
making sense, versus feeling like sometimes you have to push it, and ultimately that usually doesn't end well, or it causes a
Yeah,
lot of
you don't want to push. You don't want to push. You don't
yeah.
want to force a deal. It's probably not a deal then.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the reasons why we liked, we had a couple really great projects that we kind of got onto in the beginning stages of COVID when there was some really good opportunities, and big jumps in.
Pre-boom, yeah.
Yeah, and then there's the one that we kind of got as it was booming, and now we're like, okay, that one didn't work out quite as beautifully as the other ones, but it's okay.
Caught in
Um,
the tide, yeah.
yeah, but it's like now it's interesting because for a lot of us, you're like looking at and you're like, man, I'm just not finding the kind of how I would those deals that made sense, especially when you're bringing in partners. Like if you're doing a deal and it's your money and it's your deal, like there's more room there, right?
Yeah,
You don't need as much spread. But if I'm bringing in partners, other people's money, joint venture partners, like this has to make sense for both of
yeah.
us. And
Well, and
so
that's the one thing too when I would be buying or wholesaling is people would be like, "Oh, it's not a deal." And I'm like, "Why?" And they're like, "Well, it doesn't hit the formula for how I was trained to buy real estate." And I said, "Well, that's fine, but never pretend or assume how people are financing things because sometimes they're buying stuff for no reason other than to buy stuff. So if there's a slight discount, if it's slightly below assessment, you can acquire something and there might be someone out there who are interested. Yes, if you can make it fit a particular model, like a 70% deal on a renovation and all this stuff, then it opens you up to more like investors to participate. But I like what you said. It's like the financing makes or breaks the deal, and never assume that you know anything about how people are financing deals when you're, especially if you're a wholesaler out there, because some people buy with their own money and it changes the numbers drastically.
100%, right? And like even on the private lending side, when we've worked with partners that are using HELOCs, like, and especially now, like, yeah, they're going to need a much higher return than initially, right? If they're paying 8% or almost 8%,
Mm-hmm.
risk tolerance is different now versus somebody who's got cash in the bank, right?
Yeah,
Where, it's sort of a different, like, obviously, potentially they're happier with different returns. And
yeah,
yeah, properties too, where yeah, it may not make sense for me if I'm using private money or I'm using someone else's money and I'm paying, higher interest rates, but there may be someone else who has access to different funds and their financing is totally different. And that deal could make a lot of sense for them. And
yeah,
ultimately, if you're holding the property, depending on what your goal is, like not everybody's goal is to have chunks of cash flow every
mm-hmm.
month. His goal is sort of a longer term hold, a
Yeah,
little bit.
or a tax deferral. Maybe they want to. I've seen people lose money on purpose, like
Yeah.
lose money on purpose because it's either going to be, but they still end up with the property at the end of the day.
You
So
still
they'll
have a
put a
property.
bunch of money into it, and on paper it doesn't make any sense. And you're like, "Why did you do it?" And he said, "Well, I'm gonna own it for forever, so it doesn't matter." And there's a
Yeah.
bunch of tax benefits for me buying this thing, and is either the money was going to the government or I could buy this house with it. So I bought this house instead. So
That's
never pretend to understand people's motivation. All you can do is ask, right?
I love it. You know what? It's so true because, like, I work, working in real estate in the GTA or in Simcoe region where I live. Like, for me and my criteria, I don't invest. I don't invest here.
Mm-hmm.
But there are people for their criteria, that they do want to invest here, and they traditionally have been higher appreciating markets. So
Mm-hmm.
that's obviously a more speculative way of investing, but that is also a way that a lot of people invest. Again, if they're trying to park their money, maybe and sort of defer some of those benefits down the road, right? So it's
Yeah,
interesting.
we used to see people doing all cash $1 million investments in Vancouver. And it
Wow.
was just like, why are they buying it? And I'd ask the real estate agent, what's the deal here? Like, why are they doing this? And the guy said, well, this is foreign money, and the foreign money is interested in putting as much as possible there that they can overpay on something to
Yeah.
park as much money into this as it goes up because they don't want any interest. They don't want the interest eroding their investment. They want to put pure cash, $3 million on a property that's going to go to like 4 million,
Yep.
but it's not going to be eroded by a mortgage of 3 million where every month there's like a 30 or $40,000 mortgage payment. No, it's just cash on a title and it's going up. Just pure stock, buy the whole stock, right?
Yeah.
So
Right. but most of us think about leverage, right? Like, why would I put down 100% if I only have to put down 20 and I'm making appreciation on the full amount? But that doesn't
Because
always
we're
make
looking at it, in small potatoes in the sense that it's like
sense.
maybe that 2 million is their leverage strategy because they are working with 120 million and they're like, well, I bought 10 this year. So we'll never understand the money. All we can do is make opportunities and present them to the marketplace. So on that note, if people want to find out more about you, connect with you, what should they do? How do they find you?
Oh, you know what? I should be more organized like this. You can reach out to me anytime. I mean, my husband and I have, it's actually Dave would help with this website, but it is in dire need of some help. But it's tinaandtj.com, and there is a
Mm-hmm.
link phone number on there, and we will make it prettier. I apologize. Or you can find me on social media. I think I'm on Instagram, the Tina Shiels, because there was already a Tina Shiels. So
Mm-hmm.
I added the. And so yeah, please reach out. I always love to chat real estate. For me, like one of the funnest thing is just sharing your journey. Like part of what has helped us so much
Mm-hmm.
is being able to reach out and talk to other people who've been investing and doing the things we're interested in. And it's like, yeah, it helped us figure out our path, find different opportunities. Sometimes we ended up partnering on projects together. I think it's the best part because sometimes it's a bit of a lonely, road we think as an entrepreneur or in real estate or being,
Yeah.
business, but it doesn't have to be. And I think the most fun is and the most joy I've gotten is actually when I've been working with other people and partnering with other people. Like I love it. Like
Mm-hmm. Well, they
rather,
say you are the 5 people you spend the most time with in the books you read. So take a
yeah,
look around, guys, and see who are those 5 people. And if you don't like that, change it. But you should spend it. If you don't have five, that's a sign too. Like find 2 more, find 3 more.
yeah, you will.
Um,
It's funny, real estate, like been an amazing path, but I feel like I found my tribe. I've got some incredible relationships and friendships now that have all come out of these, decisions of, joining different groups or masterminds. Like I think it started with like Keyspire many, many years ago, but all through that, we've sort of branched off and just met people. You meet your people and you're like, these are my people.
mhm, mhm.
And it's like it's just awesome, like when you start to really get connected with your purpose and you feel in alignment and that you're doing what you love and you can actually have a positive contribution back, however that is for you. But I feel like there's lots of opportunities for that in the world of real estate. So I feel like we're in the infancy of our journey, but super excited and very excited for next year. And going to be a bit more strategic, I think, about how we share a lot more of what we're doing,
Mhm.
because it's actually really fun. And yeah, so we'll see what happens. But I I am so grateful that I don't know. I feel like it was about 8 years ago where we made this really conscious decision to do much more in this space, and I'm super glad that we saw that line in the sand and we crossed to the other
Mhm.
side.
Yeah,
uh,
I mean, it's definitely a journey, and I always would say real estate. You can sign a real estate offer to purchase and an offer to, an OTP on your deathbed. So there's no necessarily retirement from this game. And
nah. And if
yeah,
you love it, it doesn't feel like work, right? It's just great. Yeah. And it
exactly.
feels the
Well,
lifestyle hopefully that you want. So
exactly. Well, I really appreciate you stopping by the show, Tina. And yeah, I'm
awesome.
sure there'll be people reaching out to hear more and connect with you.
I would love it anytime.
All right, guys, and we'll catch you on the next episode.
Hey there, I really hope you enjoyed that episode. And as always, if you want to listen to more daily interview content, make sure you subscribe. And if you're an active real estate investor and you're doing deals and you'd like to get featured on this show, then just head over to daveinterviewyou.com. Now at moneypartnerformula.com, we help real estate investors to create a process for predictably getting capital so they can do more deals without relying on hard money lenders or the banks. We do this by building them a private capital marketing system. Now, if you want help turning yourself into a big money capital attraction machine, then book a call with our team to see how we can help. Just visit moneypartnerformula.com to find out more. All right, take care, and we'll see you on the next interview.